And Mr. Speaker, I thank the gentleman. It's a privilege for me to be here on the floor of the House of Representatives tonight with Congressman Collins and Congressman Vargas. I consider them both precious friends and co-laborers in this vital struggle for religious freedom, which is the cornerstone of all other freedoms, and without which there can be really no other kind of freedom exist for any length of time. Mr. Speaker, there is nothing that I fear more from my colleagues and my fellow Americans than the danger of growing numb to the evil that incites these horrific atrocities being committed against people around the world today based on their faith. I submit that we are in these days witnesses to some of the most glaring and brutal attacks on this universal right of religious freedom in all of our history. The Islamic State, that metastasizing cancer spreading throughout the Middle East and North Africa, is especially targeting Christians, Yazidis, and other ancient religious minorities and communities for extinction. The world has watched this insidious campaign of terror unfold day by day for over a year. More than 407 days now have passed since the ancient city of Mosul fell into the hands of the Islamic State. Their campaign of terror drove hundreds of thousands of Christian men, women, and children out of the land of their spiritual heritage, which dates back for nearly 2,000 years. Nearly 1 year has passed since the Islamic State's attack on the Yazidi community. Thousands were slaughtered, Mr. Speaker. At least 5,000 women and young girls were taken captive as sex slaves. Nearly 1,000 boys between the ages of 4 and 10 were captured and forced into ISIS training camps. Mr. Speaker, there is no room for Christians, Yazidis, or other dissidents in the Islamic State's self-proclaimed caliphate. Innocent men, women, and children are forced to choose between their deeply held religious beliefs and their lives. They are subject to torture, mass executions, beheadings, and crucifixions. They are drowned and burned alive in cages. They are raped, abused, and sold as commodities in a modern-day slave market. They are tied to chairs and thrown off high-rise buildings. They are desecrated, violated, humiliated, and stripped of their dignity. Their ancient places of worship and sacred sites are destroyed. Mr. Speaker, how many more unimaginable atrocities must occur before this administration takes off its heartless blinders and finds the courage and determination to decisively address this evil slaughter of innocents based on their religious beliefs? German Lutheran pastor and anti-Nazi dissident Dietrich Bonhoeffer said, quote, "Silence in the face of evil is evil itself. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak, and not to act is to act." Mr. Speaker, the Obama administration can no longer remain silent in the plight of religious minorities caught in the wake of the Islamic State. It is vital that America and the world make the necessary responses to stop this campaign of terror and preserve these ancient religious communities from extinction. In the middle of this scourge, the administration has allowed the special envoy to promote religious freedom of religious minorities in the Near East and South Central Asia. That position remains vacant now for nearly a year. So very little effort has been made to equip regional security forces to protect these communities from ISIS advance. This administration's response is shameful and an astonishing failure, and it only affirms the Islamic State's barbaric strategy and encourages what they proudly boast to be a, quote, battle between faith and blasphemy, truth and falsehood, unquote. Mr. Speaker, I would just adjure the President of the United States not to continue to stand by and let this evil relentlessly proceed. The assault on religious freedom we are witness to in the Middle East is just one of the many attacks against this most sacred and basic right of religious freedom. There are thousands of innocent people around the world who are antagonized, oppressed, tortured and killed because of their belief or disbelief in a particular religion or ideology. I know these are challenging subjects, Mr. Speaker, but God help us to remain committed to echoing the voices of these innocents in the halls of Congress. May we all be relentlessly committed to pursue that day when the light of hope will fall across all of the lonely faces of God's children all over this world, and that this, quote, most inalienable and sacred right of true religious freedom will be of every last human being, and the destiny of future generations will be to walk in the sunlight of liberty for as long as mankind inhabits the earth. May it be so, and I thank the gentleman and yield.